When talking about bands that have a high level of respect from just about everyone in the hard rock community, Sevendust is almost always given credits. They are a band that have been going strong since the mid-90s, and most in the music business only have good things to say about them. After the band's Grammy nomination from their 2015 album Kill the Flaw, the band is back with their 12th studio album, All I See Is War. Sevendust is one of the few bands that can say they have been going strong for over 2 decades and have had the same lineup for almost their entire run. The type of brotherhood in that band is becoming rare, so you know it's a family thing in making this music, even if that family is coming together to make an album titled something a bit somber. An interesting note about this album is that John Connolly said it was arguably the longest time they had spent writing an album, taking roughly 8 months. Add that to All I See Is War being worked on between Atlanta and St. Louis, and then Orlando for the recording session. It feels like the 12th album had some focus put into it. The theme for All I See Is War is best described by guitarist John Connolly. We're as polarized as we've ever been. Discussion is not happening. Everyone is so quick to snap online. We're not listening, we're just talking. In these songs, we don't sugarcoat what's going on. For as dark as the subject matter may be, it's about hope. We know we can be in a better spot because we've seen so many different individuals come together through music. There's a lot of truth to what Connolly said about being divided, and just about anyone can verify that by spending 30 seconds on Twitter. Music has been able to get points across and help unite people for decades, and I think that's a good goal to have. So, pair that underlying message with what we already know about Sevendust and what they can deliver. It's a good thing to look forward to. The 2 highlighted songs so far from All I See Is War are Dirty and Not Original, Dirty being the harder of the 2 and the album opener. Dirty has the heavier riffs and thunderous pounding from Morgan Rose that made Sevendust a staple, so this song really is another easily identified track from them on first listen. What I enjoy about this song along with others on All I See Is War is Lajon Witherspoon's performance. Throughout these songs I found myself being able to admire his voice, both getting loud and in singing a harmony with the rhythm that I have in the past several Sevendust albums. The smoother Not Original, the heavier Risen, and mixed between the 2 in Life Deceives You really showing off his skill. With those several songs I just described being my personal favorites, a good way to describe this album, besides its underlying theme about being divided, is that All I See Is War is a collection of Sevendust songs. They have a theme for sure, but this album definitely feels like a Sevendust playlist. Not so much meant to be played from front to back, but rather playing a certain song when you were in that particular mood. The lower tuned guitar riffs from Clint Lowery and John Connolly are great, and in the hardest songs is where those 2 shine. To be honest, I was expecting more of this style throughout the album, but it actually feels much more melodic and whole. That's not a complaint either, just trying to explain what to expect if you want to check out more of this album. There are definitely some harder hitting tracks like the album closer The Truth, but for the most part there is a more moving hard rock style that has a flow. Each song feels separate though, and there does feel like a bit of repetition after a while, like in Sickness, Cheers, and Descend. This album is still a strong entry in Sevendust's catalog, but in 12 tracks I admit there were a few times I grew impatient. As a fan of Sevendust since 1999 when I first heard the album Home, I admit that I am going to have a soft spot for the band. What I can honestly say about their 12th album is that it matches what was listed in the press release. Sevendust simply made a Sevendust record. Even if that's still rolling along the same train tracks, the ride is still worth it. Overall, All I See Is War offers more of a melody than past albums, along with a great performance from Lajon Witherspoon. Sevendust is still going strong in 2018, and this album definitely has some winners to check out. We may be all divided, but Sevendust is right that music is capable of getting us on the same page. It's worth hearing what their take is.